and delight.
That is just brilliant, Doc. Thank you. There's just something about that song that just makes me go, ah. Anybody else felt that? It's just this feeling of comfort, this feeling of where we are, why we are here. It anchors us into our spirituality. It anchors us into our love. Thank you, Doc, so much. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I am Reverend Beverley Strutt, and I am the spiritual leader here at this beautiful center. And when I look out and see all your wonderful faces, it just makes me smile, all the way down from my toes, all the way up. And if there's anybody that finds himself here for the first time today, I just want to extend my own personal welcome. So lovely to have you. And of course, if you're online, just know we can feel you. I can see you right through the camera. In fact, ooh, that's a pretty dress you're wearing back there. I can tell you. We know that you're there. We feel you. We're grateful that you join us. And so welcome, welcome, welcome. Ah, it's been a week. Anybody? Anybody? Is it just me, or does it feel like this has been a week? We love our weeks, but it has been a bit of a week. So we begin our new month with the new theme for the month is nature. Anybody? We live in Hawaii. You know, it's like, really. I'm looking at the topic and the tones of the topic, and I'm laughing because I can understand that a lot of the, okay, so here's what happens. Centers for Spiritual Living has a vision group that comes together and creates and visions for the global themes for the year. It's a group of 12, 14 people, and they do a visioning for the overall theme of the year, which is Living Everyday Wonder. And then they vision for the monthly theme, and then somebody steps up and creates the weekly themes that go along with it. And one person takes each month and writes outlines to support the ministers, because there are many ministers across our organization that speak every single week. Every single week. Now, in Science of Mind, we teach 5 things. We have to find 52 different ways of saying the same thing. So they help us along with this. And it's kind of fun because you realize that you are part of a big organization, and everybody, the energy throughout, well, most of us, we're speaking about the same things more or less every single week. It feels good. We're in Hawaii, folks. Nature, us, come on. Now, if we were in the middle of Detroit, I would say, yes, this is a really great topic. How we connect with nature, what do we do? Let's go find a park, let's lie on the grass, let's walk in the sand. Let's love on everything around us. We're in Hawaii. I think it comes with the territory. It comes with our choice of just being here. This is what we came to be a part of. So we know that connection with nature. The topic of this week is Earth Force, report for duty. One more time, we're in Hawaii. This is what we do every single day. This is not new. So I had to get a pretty picture that had a heart in it, that didn't represent anything like, let's step up and do the big fight for nature. We do it every day in all the ways that this island calls us to be a part of it. So what am I going to talk about? What is there for me to really speak about today? Well, before I move away from this, I do want to share a piece that was written by Thomas Friedman. He is a Pulitzer Prize columnist for the New York Times. He reports on many different things. Obviously, global warming is one of them. So I'm going to put my time in. We'll talk about it for 1 second, and then I'm just going to surrender to the fact that we chose Hawaii. We chose to be a part of this whole thing. We chose to honor nature. We chose to do what we can to support and love and be a part of the change. Even if our change is already affected in our bodies, we know that it goes out to change in the world. This is a spiritual principle that we all honor as part of our teaching. Anyway, Thomas Friedman, he says this: it's been in the last 11,000 years that we have enjoyed the calm, stable climate conditions that allowed our ancestors to emerge from their Paleolithic caves and create seasonal agriculture, domesticate animals, erect cities and towns, and eventually launch the Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution and the Information Technology Revolution. This period gave us the ideal balance of forests, savannas, coral reefs, grasslands, fish, mammals, bacteria, air quality, ice cover, temperature, fresh water availability, and productive soils on which our civilization was built. Bless you. Bless you again. We maintain just the right amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, acidity in the oceans, coral in the sea, tropical forest coverings along the equator, and ice at the 2 poles to store water and reflect the sun's rays, to support human life and a steadily growing world population. And right now, we are stressing to the limits and beyond many of the individual systems in our system of systems that has provided human beings with the most stable and benign geological epoch that we have ever known. We are threatening to push Earth out of the sweet spot. This is not news to anybody that lives here. But it is worth reading a piece like this just to put it in perspective of how far we have come and what it is that we are reporting for duty for every single day. Every single day. Scott Aubrey, who provides us with beautiful spiritual passages, says, "In caring for the earth, I feel her love for me. As I live, move, and be still in my favorite places, I feel the delight of the landscape, my home, the paths I walk. This is sacred expression. I abide in this love story with reverence and gratitude, and I love as I am loved." Wouldn't it be amazing if we could just capture our experiences every day in the magnificence of which we live and bottle it, send it out into the places in the world, not just our country, but the places in the world that children don't see grass in a day. They go off to parks, lovely, and then they walk away from it. They don't see the animals that we are used to seeing, even if they are those little creatures, which we'll talk about later in the month. I was fortunate I grew up in Africa. The big animals, the big five, was something I got to see often in the big parks. I didn't understand what it meant to go to a petting zoo. I didn't understand that. This caring for nature, caring for animals, is something that was so terribly innate in our living. So I'm not surprised that I landed up here. But the sameness, we get to not even have to walk outside. We can just peek through our window and the magnificence of what we see. And it's easy to honor nature when we are so steeped in it. And when we are called every single day to solar energy, when we're called every single day to picking up trash on the sidewalk, where we're called to recycle. We're called to make sure our trash doesn't scatter, we take it. This is very intentional living. And guess what? We just take it for granted. But for granted in the best way possible. We just do. We are reporting for duty every single day. So don't let up on this, because when we do it, because we are all one and one with humanity, how we build the positive in us will shine out into the world. So good on all of you for being here, choosing this, and choosing to be part of this delicate ecosystem that we have. I say delicate a little. It's not delicate. Miss Nature, she ain't delicate. She fights like you cannot believe. We see it all over the place. But where I want to go from this is I want us to take a little look into nature. You know, the astrophysicists and and all of the scientists that surround the global dive into knowing why and how all these things are happening, become very aware of the microcosm, the macrocosm. And we, in our own selves, because of our connection with the divine as we're all one, are a microcosm of this world, of this universe. Just like a drop of water is a microcosm of the ocean, so we are a microcosm of the whole. So how does it serve us? It serves us in that we can look into how nature does what she does, and maybe take a little page out of her book to look into how we manage what we do with our day and with our bodies. So as I was going through my research, I found, and if anybody doesn't have this book, grab it for your bookshelf. It's called The Book of Awakening from Mark Nepo. And you know how things happen. It was right there. It was the day I needed to read. The exact day I read, I was like, this is where we're going. So I am going to share this directly from him. I'm not going to paraphrase. I'm going to read it. And you know, for me, that's unusual. But I think the way he said it and what he says is important enough to honor his words verbatim. So let's go into this. When we get to the end, it's going to be even fun. Most vegetables and fruits grow within a covering that must be peeled away if the sweetness and ripeness is to be eaten. There are many ways this speaks to the human journey, but perhaps one of the most important involves the way in which we're growing within the covering of our stuff. We often protect the little seeds of effort, desire, passion, and curiosity by wrapping them in grand designs and ambitious plans that in the end really have nothing to do with the sweetness and the ripeness of what finally grows within us. However, it is important to remember that just like corn cannot mature unless it is covered for months by its husks, we need to incubate who we are within layers of who we might yet become. Isn't that just brilliant? That understanding that a lot of what we do, a lot of what we're striving for, is just a covering for the sweetness to mature inside. He goes on to say, there is nothing wrong with this. Most things in life need a protective container in order to grow. We can hurt ourselves, though, when we keep the fruit in us covered too long. We can go bad. We can begin to spoil within if we stay encased in the old plans once who we are in our inside has matured. Perhaps when we move or change careers or relationships, we're actually trying to free ourselves from all that has covered us, even though it has helped us grow. Starting to see where I'm going with this? Yeah. We stay too long. We become comfortable in those places inside our little husks until it turns yucky. The most humbling part of this is that though we need to make plans and work towards goals and imagine possible futures, none of it can prepare us for the moment that we ripen. Once the soul fills out like mature fruit, all of our fantasies, our ambitions, and deep complaints turn to useless skin. Once ripe, once able to feel compassion and joy, all forms of sacrifice and postponements for the future begin to make us decay inside. Like the silk that keeps corn shiny, all our delicate dreams of tomorrow have served their purpose when the heart pops like a kernel. These words that he writes are just so magnificent. But let's look at how this actually works in us, right? We do all this fantastic work. We have our beautiful plans. We even go dig down inside to get some of our hidden beliefs out of the way so that we can make this all happen. We sit, we mature, we're comfortable inside of whatever our skin is, our container is, whether it's our plans, whether it's our fears, whatever that container is that is actually supporting the growth and the ripening from within, we get comfortable. And when the time comes that we should fly out of there and really do what we want to do with all this beautiful sweetness and ripening that we've brought about, we go, I don't think so. This is kind of comfy. I'm happy in here. What happens if I don't succeed? Oh, what happens if you don't succeed? Why would we even think that? What kind of a thought even comes up in that? But what we do is we just stay. And sometimes, even as we ripen, we bring out more stuff to secure that environment that we're in. We paint ourselves into corners with situations around us that we can't go. Oh my goodness, I got to look after the animals. I've got to look after the house. I can't possibly go and do this thing that I really want to do. But subconsciously, we have painted ourselves into a corner. We have put things, and we actually, now that we can feel that sweetness. I mean, you know what a fruit looks like when it starts to ripen. It might even ooze a little bit. You know, it's like it's really good. It's full of its juice. It's ready to go and nurture somebody. But no, we're going to stay. We even bring up that extra stuff that sweetness is now turning into, and go, maybe I like this better. But we don't really, because there comes a point in our life where that stuff starts to decay to a point that it is now no longer beneficial to us. It can manifest in many different ways. Most of all, there's a depression that comes about because somewhere inside of us we realize we've waited just too long. What are we going to do now? We're stuck with this fruit. We're stuck with the stuff. It's not smelling very good anymore. What are we going to do with it? Well, of course, the greatest thing of all is to recognize when that sweetness is up and go, I'm ready, let's go. And yet, we always have a certain amount of fear of the unknown. Can we lean back into trust? Can we look at nature and know that this is something we can honor? We can see when the fruit drops from the tree. It's given up. It's done. It's full. We don't want to drop from our tree. We want to burst forward and share everything that we have. We want our seeds to come out and nurture more things and grow. So don't get caught up in that. Have a look. See when your shiny silk of your corn is ready to be pulled back, to release the corn, to actually maybe throw it into a pan and see it pop. You don't know what can happen. The unknown is a scary place, and that's why we lean back into trust. We lean back into faith. We lean back into that place of knowing that everything is working for us. The universe is for us. God is for us. Everything that comes forward to call you forward is seeking you to express more of you. You know, don't be putting your light under a bushel here, you know. This is not the desire for the divine to know its expression through us. It has given us all that we can possibly receive to live the best life possible. So that's one way of nature actually showing us. So this is when we look outwards towards nature to learn a lesson for our own selves. Now we can take the opposite angle. and we can look at what goes on in our body and see how it is reflected out into the world. Microcosm, macrocosm, all the same thing. Anybody feeling a tension in their hip today? Anybody feel like a little bit of a cough? Anybody have something really more serious going on that we're getting treatment for? Anybody having a headache? Anybody feeling indigestion? How about a mosquito bite that you've scratched until it's turned into one of those big things? I'm not going to show you mine, I promise. There are them. So look at your body and see what is going on. Look at the dis-ease in your body, the malaise, the depression, the feeling that maybe there's not enough over here, but there's too much over there. How many of us have wanted to go, can I just take this and move it around the back? You know, is this a possibility? Can I just take a little bit over here, put it up over here, maybe spark the lips a little bit, move stuff around, Susanna's laughing, trying to get what we want to look at as a balance in our lives. You know, really. And one of the things we get to know, especially if you know anybody that does Chinese medicine or have studied it, I had a little bit of study in Chinese medicine. One of the greatest things they say is don't fight anything in your body. Just don't fight it. Because you're taking energy and you're putting there, and now you're fighting it. Concentration, everything else is like going crazy. We're focusing on just one thing. We're fighting it. We're going in with everything we got. We're going to get rid of it. While everything else is wandering around and it's going, what the heck is going on here? You know? Chinese medicine offers us this idea of balance. Of balance. You know, we have meridians in Chinese medicine. And there are points on those meridians. And if you go to an acupressurist or an acupuncturist, they're going to put a little finger over here, a little finger over here, maybe along your leg. They're going to hold it, have you breathe in and out. What are they actually doing? Does anybody understand what they're doing? The one point is in excess, and the other point is in deficiency. And in holding it on the same meridian, there is this idea of bringing it back to balance. So what we want to do in our bodies is balance, right? Bring it back in. So we don't just focus. Now, I'm not telling you not to take antibiotics if you're sick. I'm not telling you that at all. This is very theoretical that I'm showing you of how we can bring things back into balance in our body. How about the world? The world got indigestion anywhere, do you think? Antibiotics needed somewhere? A fire? Anywhere in the world you can think of? There's a hip action going on in the world. There's a scratch for a mosquito. Anywhere in the planet, can you see a similarity of what you experience in your body going on our planet? Anybody fighting a war of dis-ease somewhere? Are we having that on our planet? Uh-huh. Anywhere in your body going, I need more, and grabbing it from somewhere else? Absolutely. Anybody just got a migraine? Yeah, I think there are a ton of places on the earth right now that have migraines. Any place that's feeling depleted? Any place that's feeling excess? Floods, drought. This is all in the big makeup of how our planet works and how our body works. Is there anything wrong that these things happen? No. This is a natural course of rhythm in the body. You will go through this. How we address these things in our body is how we should be addressing them on the planet. So what I invite you to do with something like that is to take a good hard look at how you address the different dis-eases that come up in your body. Do you just not look at it and go, oh, it's going to fix itself all alone, and you keep, when eventually you're doing this, because you never actually took care of the issue. Anybody have, and we all know people around us, if it's not us, that don't go to a doctor, don't go to an acupuncturist, don't go to anybody for any kind of assistance. Can you see that happening in the world? We got this. No, we got it. It doesn't work. So I bring back to the fact that we start with who we are, where we are, and what we have. And one of the most important things in that is our physical body. And how do we want to move forward with shifting back into balance? Do we want to try this medication, this supplement, this idea? Oh, I'm going to do a little physical therapy. Oh, I don't like that. Okay, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. Or do we want to go back to what we actually teach here, which is a mental science? Do we want to actually go back and look at what our thoughts are thinking? Do we want to go back and start there? This is how we can begin with our own bodies. This is how we can start thinking about the world. See it in the world, and you can say to me, oh yeah, but I have no control over all of that. Yeah, that's what the thought that has actually got us as far along this design as we're in. That's the reason we have to get an earth force out there to try and take care of it, because so many people along the way said, oh, it's not mine, I don't have anything to do with it. We are all one. We are all interconnected life. We cannot separate from each other or the world. And we should not. It's a brilliant place to be. I mean, we get to breathe. Isn't that great? Well, this planet is so perfectly designed that it supports the actual delicacy of life itself. So are our bodies. So the invitation around this whole concept of how do we look at our body and how to look at the world is to go and look at your body. Go and actually check it out. See what you are ignoring. See where you're fighting too hard. Try and see this idea of bringing yourself back into balance. Use our teaching and our tools to do it. Lean back into that and test it out. Prove it. Dr. Ernest Holmes always said, don't take my word for anything I'm telling you. Prove it to yourself, for yourself. And if you need help because you don't quite know how to get it going, we have 3 practitioners in this room, and you got me. Call. Please call. And let's talk about it. We did a class yesterday. And the one thing that I know about the class is that we all left with more questions than answers. There's no doubt about it. Because when we are willing to look and actually address what's going on, or address a question we have around the teaching, or why is this something said, more comes forward to support us. And as we support ourselves in consciousness, we will support the world. Dr. Ernest Holmes actually says, I am guided by the same intelligence and inspired by the same imaginations which scatters the moonbeams across the waves and holds the forces of nature in its grasp. We are guided by the same intelligence. We are part of the same consciousness. When we do something, it matters. I think that's going to be my trademark statement. Everything we do matters. So look at the things that you can do that are going to make your life, your body, thrive. And know that in consciousness it extends out into the world. If we could get everybody in the world to maybe think that one thought, we might be able to bring this whole planet back into balance. But if we can't have that, let's do what we can. Start where we are with what we have. So I know that for many people, if we were in a big city, I'd be saying, go out, pick up the trash, do what you can to keep the beauty and thrive in this magnificent world. I know that here in Hawaii we do it anyway. One of the other things, the other challenge that I have for you is directed towards looking out into nature. That idea of the fruit ripening. So while you're in there looking to balance the body, check for your sweetness. Push a little bit. Am I ripe yet? Am I ready to go? Have I waited a day or two long? Because if you have, don't worry about it. Unlike fruit that can't be consumed when it's ripe and we can't turn or change it backwards, we can. As human beings, we have a choice. We can actually choose to do something different. So even though you might have been over-ripened, you might be oozing juice and sweetness everywhere, and the skin might be all crinkled up already, it doesn't matter for us. Yes, it's a little harder to push out and replump yourself up into freshness, but it is doable. You get to make a different choice. You get to say, I am ready to break open and go out into the world, because I know, first of all, the unknown is not that scary, but more importantly, I am guided, guarded, and protected by this divine intelligence that only wants me to be the most magnificent expression of myself that I can possibly be. So I'm going to close with a little piece from Ralph Waldo Emerson. To speak truly, few adult persons can see nature. Most persons do not see the sun. At least they have a very superficial seeing. The sun illuminates only the eye of the man, but shines into the eye and the heart of the child. The lover of nature is he who inward and outward senses are still truly adjusted to each other, who have retained the spirit of infancy even into the era of manhood. His intercourse with heaven and earth become part of his daily food. In the presence of nature, a wild delight runs through the man in spite of real sorrow. Nature says, he is my creature, and maugre all his impertinent griefs, he shall be glad with me. Not the sun or the summer alone, but every hour and season yields its tribute of delight. For every hour and change corresponds to and authorizes a different state of mind. And so it is. Let us take this to prayer. So how beautiful it is to lean into this knowingness of our connection to the divine. We will remember the Hermetic saying, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. And we lean into this knowing that this is the truth of who we are. That we are an expression of the divine, just as every flower, every piece of fruit, every animal, every living creation is the same as us. We're made of the same stuff, the same molecules, the same atoms, the balance of carbon and oxygen in our body. We are magnificent in every way. And as we know this for ourselves, it is the truth of everything else we see around us. All of creation that is shown so beautifully in the nature around us. And we get to rest in there and receive from nature the lessons that is so important for us to thrive. And I know for each one of us as we walk our week, that this is part of what we do. In every breath we breathe, we can feel it, we can know it, we can be it, and we can evolve in it, and I call it good. So I just release this prayer knowing that it is done, knowing that the perfection behind all that we do and all that we see and all that we experience is this divine energy we call God, and it is good. So please just anchor this prayer with me as we say, and so it is. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Suzanne.